Here we go. Nebraska is getting ready for one of their biggest recruiting weekends of all time tomorrow, hosting over 50 4-star and 5-star prospects on campus. So in today's video, I'm going to go over this massive update, every single player who's visiting, who these guys are, what they bring to the table, their interest in the Huskers, what other schools are in the mix, everything you need to know about them. And then when it's all said and done, whether or not they will commit to the Big Red. And then a couple other bits of news from these past couple hours. Not one, but 2 4-star prospects have been crystal ball to the Huskers. They are committing very, very soon. We'll talk about who those 2 names are. A big change coming to the student section tomorrow. Some movement in the betting line ahead of tomorrow's game. And then my preview of every single Big Ten matchup and their implications toward the Huskers. So really quick, this is a loaded update. I'm fired up. If you are too, hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? This is the only channel that posts daily updates just like this, talking Huskers. It's no brainer. Takes 2 seconds. Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Nebraska is getting ready for one of their biggest recruiting weekends of all time tomorrow, hosting over 50. Yes, you heard me correctly. 50 prospects, all of which are 5 stars, 4 stars, some of the top recruits in America. I mean, let's just get things started with the class of 27, because it feels like every single top prospect in that cycle, they'll be in Lincoln. They're watching Nebraska versus USC. They understand this is a huge game for both programs, and they want to be a part of it. Now, let's go to the #1 tight end in America, arguably the biggest name on campus. It's a non-negotiable. The Huskers have to land him. It's Ahmad Hudson, and his recruitment has been shook up over these past couple days. We know that LSU has been by far the favorite for over a year now. He's grew up to be a huge fan of the Tigers. He always wanted to be an LSU Tiger, but we know that Brian Kelly got fired. That entire coaching staff will be gone in just a span of a month. They just fired their athletic director yesterday. They're going through this entire coaching search. He has no idea what the program's going to look like next year. He has no idea what the program's going to look like in 2 years. It's going to be a rebuild. There's likely going to be a head coach there that's never recruited him, that's never talked to him before. And for that reason, it gives Nebraska a huge opportunity. It gives Texas A&M a huge opportunity. Nebraska has to win this Saturday. It's a non-negotiable, because when he's looking over his top 3 schools, which are Nebraska, Texas A&M, and LSU, he sees 2 winners. Texas A&M right now, they are a winner program. They are undefeated. They are one of the best programs in America. They're top 5 in the country. LSU, while it's a down year, they're a winner program. They won a national championship in the last 10 years. And you look at Nebraska, Nebraska has not proven to be a winner program just yet. So this is somebody who's a competitor. He's a 5-star recruit in football. He's a 4-star recruit in basketball. He's going to play both sports at the next level. Obviously, he's 6'7". There's so many great connections with him and the coaching staff. Nebraska's offering a lot in NIL. Trust me on that. He has a great relationship with Trey Taylor, who's in his ear constantly. So Nebraska, we have a lot of things working in our favor. He knows that he can play right away here, but really, it's going to come down to winning a lot. It really will. And Nebraska has to prove to him tomorrow that, hey, if you commit to us, you're going to win here. Not only, winning 7 games, you're going to be in the mix for national championships. You're going to be in the mix for playoffs consistently, because that's what he wants. That's what all these guys want. So it is imperative. Okay, it's important that he's on campus. That's the #1 thing, but you also got to win. You got to win and back it up. But Ahmad Hudson will be visiting. Huge development. As of right now, people have been asking me, do I think Nebraska is the new favorite in this process? Probably not. I'd still say LSU. I would still say LSU's #1. I'd say Texas A&M's #2. I'd say Nebraska right now is #3, just because it's going to be very hard to pull him away from Louisiana with his connection to that state. And Texas A&M, obviously, they're winning right now, right? And they have a lot of money as well. So again, this is a huge recruiting weekend for Nebraska. If you win, you could go from #3 to #1. You really could. You got to win. You got to win. You got to make it worth his while. But this is a non-negotiable. The Huskers have to land him. Then going over all of the prospects who are visiting in the class of 27, because there are so many. You got Xavier Sabb, athlete out of New Jersey, 6 foot tall, 180, one of the fastest players in the country, can play all over the field. He plays wide receiver. He plays DB. You can put him in the backfield if needed. So Nebraska, they're recruiting him to play multiple positions. He has every offer you can imagine, whether it's from Bama, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. You go down the line, you got Georgia in here, you got Oregon. So just one of the fastest, more freaky athletes in this class. Again, there's a reason why he's a 5-star. Nebraska's also recruiting his brother, who will also be on campus. This is Amari Sabb, who's actually in the class of 26. Now, he's only a 3-star prospect, only 5'10". He's about 160, but also incredibly speedy, just like his brother. Nebraska, they're recruiting him to play slot wide receiver. And also should be noted, while he's a low 3-star, he has a bunch of good offers too. I mean, he got Bama in here, you got Georgia, you got Florida, you got Michigan, you got Ohio State. So His brother will also be on campus, but this is somebody who is a 3-star prospect in class of 26, and the Huskers could add him. Then going on to a lot more in the class 27, you got Olu. I'm not going to pronounce his full name because it would be impossible, but he goes by Olu. Again, 6'6", 270, offensive tackle coming out of New Jersey as well. Nebraska did a really good job on the East Coast. He's a borderline 5-star prospect right now, listed as the 10th tackle in his class, 66 nationally. Every off you can imagine as well. I mean, he's just a bruiser, man. He's a bruiser. Very raw, I'd say. Kind of reminds me of a Klama Puma, where it's going to take some time with him, but I mean, you watch his film, he's just pancaking dudes. He's bigger than everybody, stronger than everybody, and he lets you know it. So he will be visiting Nebraska for the first time. You got Arian Washington, who's one of my favorite players in the class of 26. This will be his second time visiting Nebraska. He was on campus, of course, for the 77 tournament in the summer, but he's out of LA. Borderline 5-star corner, 6 foot tall, 160. Incredible speed. He's really quick as well. He can play both ways. He can play wide receiver. Great jump ball ability. Again, if it's a jump ball, he's going to come down with the interception. He can play all over the defense. I like him best at boundary corner, but he can play nickel, kind of similar to a Sia Wright. He can play safety, and he'll be visiting the Huskers for the second time. He's really, really interested in Nebraska, along with USC, Ohio State, as you would imagine. You got Jake Hildebrand, who will also be visiting Nebraska for the second time. I believe he was on campus for the spring game. Again, he's 6'6". He's about 300 pounds, out of Basha, one of the best high schools in all of Arizona. Somebody who, man, oh man, he's great in the pass, bro. Really well developed, great hands, great footwork. Is one of those guys where I consider him to be a borderline 5-star when you watch this film. I think that whatever program he goes to, he'll be in the mix to play day one, just because, again, he's not the strongest in the world just yet, but his technique is so sound. Nebraska will love to add him in this cycle, but right now, I'd say Nebraska's probably in his top 5. I'd say the Huskers are definitely in the mix to get him when it's all said and done. You got Jerry Outhouse, who will be visiting. He is a top 150 corner coming out of Texas. I love this prospect, and he's about 6'1", 175. Incredibly physical, great tackler. He was actually going up against Ethan Feaster, who's a 5-star receiver in the class of 26 a couple weeks ago, and he shut him down. I believe he only gave up around 20 receiving yards to one of the best receivers in the country. So again, Jerry Outhouse, somebody who has that dog mindset, as the kids like to say. Incredibly physical corner coming out of Texas. You got Nate Carson, who's an interior offensive lineman, kind of out of South Carolina. This will be his first ever visit to Nebraska. Really, really solid prospect. Again, he looks like a grown man. He's one of those tackles who's like, I can't believe you're only 16 years old. He looks like he's already in the NFL, right? And he's built that way, not only with his muscle, but look at his face, man. He looks old. So you know that he's developed it the right way, and you know that, again, he's going to potentially play right away for the Huskers. But incredible prospect with, once again, every offer in America. You got Elijah Harmon, who's a big-time prospect in the class of 27. He's another top 150 player, defensive lineman out of California, Inglewood. Again, 6'3", 300 pounds, great nose tackle. Again, he'll probably be a zero technique at the next level. Nebraska just offered him, and he made it clear when Nebraska offered him that he considers the Huskers to be one of his top schools already. LSU's in there, USC's in there, Ohio State's in there, but he really, really likes Nebraska. Cooper Twillinger, and this brings us to our first bit of breaking news. Received a crystal ball earlier this morning to commit to Nebraska. This will be the second time he visits the Huskers this season. He was on campus earlier in the year. We know that he's a tight end out of South Dakota, incredibly versatile. We've got some really, really good speed on him, can block at a high level, as you'd imagine, coming out of the Midwest. But again, he's 6'6", incredibly tall, go up and get jump balls. So Cooper Twillinger, I do expect him to commit to Nebraska. I've had my crystal ball in for months now. I've told you guys I do think he will commit to the Huskers when it's all said and done. I think his official top 4 is Nebraska, Michigan, I believe it's Iowa State. And I told you guys, expect it to be Nebraska because, again, he has by far the best connection in Lincoln. And honestly, I think if Nebraska wins on Saturday, he could commit within the next week, really do, with the way it's progressing. But some good news around Cooper Twillinger. And again, people ask me, does this mean anything when it comes to Ahmad Hudson? No, we will land probably 2 or 3 tight ends in this class. So again, this doesn't impact Ahmad Hudson's recruitment at all. Second bit of news. Nebraska also received a crystal ball for 4-star running back Amir Brown yesterday night by Tim Verghese. Again, this is a top 100 player in America who visited Nebraska for the first time last week versus Northwestern. And I told you guys at the time, I don't know how good of Nebraska's odds are here. He just decommitted from North Carolina. He set up 1 million visits around the country, just came off a Notre Dame visit. And he was so impressed with Nebraska, with the fan base. Of course, he met Emmett Johnson. He met E.J. Barthel. And he was so impressed. He said, you know what? I'm coming back next week. I'm scheduling back-to-back visits, and a crystal ball rolled in again just about a couple hours ago for him to commit to the Huskers. So very similar to Cooper Twillinger. If we win on Saturday, I could see him move pretty quickly and commit to Nebraska within the next week. So the Huskers about to get a 4-star running back to pair along Trey Taylor in this class. Incredibly exciting. This somebody's a bruiser, man. He's a bruiser, but got some nice speed as well. And he's coming out of the East Coast, so you know he's physical. He's physical. You know he can break tackles and he can block as well. And he gets some muscle on him too. I mean, he has a lot of muscle for only being 16 years old. He's listed at 200 pounds. I'd say he's about 210. I can't imagine what the bench press is, but again, he got some muscle on him for being as young as a prospect as he is. And then going over all the others real quick, we're going to go rapid fire with the rest of these names. You got Jalyn Hill, who's coming out of Bellflower, California. He's a top 200 player in the country, 4-star, very, very tall corner. That's a huge one. You got Trey Harrelson, who's a wide receiver at Texas, 6 foot tall, another top 200 name. TCU's in there, Kansas State's in there. Very, very speedy, really good route run is what I heard about him. Great blocker. You got Bryce Williams, who's a very athletic 6'2" corner out of Florida, currently committed to Florida State, but we know how it is at Florida State, right? Again, that's going to be a sinking ship, right? They're going to fire Mark Norvell. So when that inevitably happens, Bryce Williams will be back on the market, and the Huskers are trying to impress him this weekend. You got Jax DeJean. That should sound like a familiar name to you because he is the brother of, yes, Cooper DeJean, who was a former Iowa Hawkeye, now with, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. Jax DeJean actually plays tight end. He's 6'4", 200, but he's just as athletic as his brother. Great speed, great explosiveness. Again, every offer in the country. He just picked up one for Alabama. So again, I think Iowa probably is the favorite, as you'd imagine. They have kind of a lineage in that state, but Nebraska trying to persuade him. I believe this will be the second time he visits. Of course, you got Tay Ellis, who is arguably the Huskers' biggest target at wide receiver in this class. He's getting close to committing as well. Again, 6 foot tall, 170, great route runner, very physical, jump ball ability. Gotta win to land him, man. Got to win to land him. You got Abraham Sacey, who's a big-time edge rusher. This is our first edge rusher who will be visiting. Top 300 name out of Pennsylvania, 6'5", 220, very, very athletic. Doesn't have too much muscle on him just yet, but great speed off the line of scrimmage, and he's one of those guys who wants to hurt you when he brings it down. Then you got Miles Smith, who's on the defensive line coming to LA. Also another guy out of Inglewood, 6'5", 300. Another guy who I believe could play nose or 3 technique. Very good bull rush. Honestly, some nice athleticism too as well. All these defensive linemen out of California are very athletic. And kudos to the staff. They're doing a great job in that state. A lot of California prospects are visiting the Huskers. All right, going over all the others. Again, there's a bunch. I told you guys. We got Malachi Brown, who's a 6'4" defensive lineman out of Kentucky. Also very, very physical. I like him most at 3 technique. He's a 3 technique through and through. So he's kind of similar to a Cameron Lenhart, really good run stopper, and some nice offers as well. You got my man Kaylon Haney out of Omaha. I want him to commit so bad. I want him to pair alongside Amir Brown. We'll see. I don't know if he's Nebraska's number 1 choice at this point. I think he's probably number 3. I think they'd rank it Amir Brown, Isaiah Rodgers, then Kaylon Haney. So if Isaiah Rodgers doesn't commit to us, they might pick up Kaylon. But I already told you guys how I feel about Kaylon, man. This dude's a stud. I mean, he's Marshawn Lynch. We need him here, and he visits Nebraska every week. At some point, he's got to commit. At some point, they're going to give him the green light because we cannot miss on this guy. Because if he goes somewhere else, he's going to shine. Trust me on that one. He's that good. All right, all the others here. Braylon Mills, offensive tackle out of Georgia, 6'7", great in the pass pro, really good technique. Bunch of offers, particularly from Georgia. You got Ramoni Edwards, offensive tackle out of Texas. This is actually in the class of 28. We're getting in the class of 28, guys. He is a 5-star in that class, number 1 tackle in that class as well. Big time name. First time he'll visit Nebraska. Nebraska doing a really, really good job in the class of 28. Then you got Asher. I'm going to butcher this last time, so I'm not even going to try. Asher Gateau, he was the edge rusher out of Jacksonville, Florida in the class of 28. He's also a borderline 5-star name, 15th best player in his cycle. Really, really speedy edge rusher, man. Really, really speedy. And yeah, got some nice weight on too for only being, I think, 15 or 16. He's 240 already. So he might be about 270 when he gets on campus. You got Bryce Smalls, who's also going to be a 5-star in the class of 28. Again, he looked at me. Another guy who looks like a grown man coming out of Maryland. Got 6'5", 300 pounds. Then you got Barron Marshall, who's a borderline 5-star recruit in the class of 28 out of Overland Park, Kansas. This is somebody I really think has a good chance of coming to the Huskers when it's all said and done. He's 6'3", once again, go up and get jump balls. If I were to put in any 28 prospect who I think is going to commit here, it will be Barron Marshall. Huskers have done a good job. He honestly might be our first commit in that class. So just watch out for him. And then glossing over the ones I missed. We went quick fire. We got a couple others. Elijah Houston in class 27. Zion Wesley, Ryan Robbins in the class 27. And then Julian Walker. This is the one premier guy in the class of 26. I wanted to end with him. He might visit Nebraska this weekend. It's still up in the air. Again, this is a borderline top 100 player. We need a defensive lineman in this class, 6'6", 260. If he doesn't visit this week, it might be for Iowa. But right now, it's kind of a three-horse race between, of course, Michigan, South Carolina, Nebraska to land his talents. Whew, all right, that was a bunch of names in a short amount of time. Now let's quickly get to all the news from today before we get out of here. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, but we're bringing back a tradition. Welcome to your worst nightmare. We did this about a decade ago, a long time ago. We'd have this in the student section. This was really, really cool. Again, this was Nebraska versus Miami. We haven't brought it back in a very long time, really, since, again, I think we had a lot during the Mike Riley era. We did not have it at all during the Scott Frost era. So we're bringing it back tomorrow. That's going to look real cool. So we're going to have that in the student section. So watch out for that if you're going to be at the game or on TV. Also, should be noted, look at this. The betting line for the game has went down. It started off as a USC about a touchdown favorite. Now it's USC's only favored by about 4.5 and probably gets about 3.5 by game time. So listen, man, Vegas knows what they're talking about. Again, the same thing happened ahead of the Michigan game. I want to make that very clear. Again, the Michigan game, same thing happened where the spread went down in favor of Nebraska. So it doesn't mean we're going to win, but again, Vegas knows something. I'm just telling you guys, Vegas knows something. And usually when a line moves down this significantly in a span of a couple days, like 2 points, 3 points, it means something's going on. So just watch out for that. All right, going over all the Big Ten games tomorrow, the implications toward the Huskers. Ohio State versus Penn State gets us going. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a test for Penn State, right? They've lost 4 consecutive. They haven't won a game in the Big Ten. Are they really going to crumble, or are they going to at least give a little bit of fight against Ohio State? Because if they're crumbling, they're going to get blown out, and that means Nebraska has a really good chance to beat them. So I do believe they're crumbling mentally. And they got the talent, don't get me wrong, but from a mental standpoint, they're lost. They're lost. So I do believe they'll get upset, or not upset, they'll get blown out. They're not going to pitch an upset, I'll tell you that much. As for the other ones, real quick, Illinois versus Rutgers, kind of a lame game here. Illinois should win big. Illinois should definitely win big. The spread's Illinois by 13. If I was a betting man, which I'm not a betting man, I would bet on LSU to win by about 30. Really do. I think, or excuse me, why did I say LSU? Illinois. Again, we talked about so many recruits. I'm talking about LSU. Illinois is going to win by about 30. They're a better team than what their record indicates. Maryland versus Indiana. Indiana should win big. Again, Maryland, once we get to this point in the year that forget how to win football games, I do believe Indiana will win by about 40. Really do. I mean, Indiana's that good of a team. They really are. Maryland, they're crumbling. They always do every year. Michigan State versus Minnesota. Yeah, this will be interesting. And both teams Nebraska has played, both teams Nebraska struggled against. We'll see how bad Minnesota really is, because Minnesota looked terrible last week versus Iowa. I actually wouldn't even be shocked if Michigan State won this game. And it would look terrible for the Huskers, but I wouldn't even be shocked by it, because Michigan State actually gave Michigan a good fight last week. They really did. Minnesota, I think that was kind of a one-off. Them beating us was a one-off. I don't anticipate that to happen again for the rest of the year. So Michigan State, it'll be a good ballgame. This will be one of the better ballgames in the Big Ten tomorrow. And then last but not least, Michigan versus Purdue. Michigan should win big. And then all the other games real quick. Any other notable ones before we get out of here? Ooh, Virginia-Cal might be fun. Oklahoma, Tennessee. That's going on at the same time, though. I won't be able to watch that one. That's a pretty good one. And then Cincinnati, Utah. Hey, Cincinnati keeps winning. They keep winning. We'll see. With their first real test of the year, they play Utah. If I were a betting man, I'd bet a lot on Utah. And then Utah's a favorite by 11 points. Yeah, Utah's going to win that one. Cincinnati, I'm happy they're winning, but again, I still will die on my hill that they are not a very good team. They're a good team, but they're not a very good team. They're not a great team. They're just good enough to kind of beat the other inferior squads in the Big 12. All right, guys. Loaded update today. Reminder, tomorrow we'll have a video that comes out in the morning. Obviously, the pregame video, the hype video, man, it'll be a big one. That'll be a big one. I'm going to record that tonight. I'm already feeling a lot of emotion ahead of this ball game, so make sure to watch that pregame video. And then right after the game, we will be live outside Memorial Stadium in the cold, maybe the rain, and we'll be live hopefully talking about a victory, maybe a loss. We'll keep it real either way, so make sure right when the game's over, be here. WilsonDittman Sports. We'll be talking about it on live. It's going to be crazy. And then I know I'm going to get some comments about my outfit today. I heard there was a funeral tomorrow. That's why we're all wearing black tomorrow, right? For USC. That's what I heard. I heard there was a funeral for the USC Trojans tomorrow, so I made sure to put on my finest attire to bid them adieu. Because I got to get ready for this funeral. USC's going down tomorrow. Let's go. I'm fired up, man. Big time ball game tomorrow. We'll see you then. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Enjoy Halloween today. I don't know what you guys are doing, whether you're trick-or-treating, handing out candy, going to parties. Stay safe, but enjoy yourselves. Get ready for tomorrow's ball game. All right, guys, go Big Red. Go Matt Rule. I will see you tomorrow.